dream team? Well, we're the mean team, wussy man.
The Goons Squad!
My money's on the other team.
Let's play some basketball.
We'll get your son back.
You guys are nuts.
Correction. We're the Mutants. And as such are the exclusive property and trademark of Warner Brothers, Inc.
Welcome back to Normies Like Us. You heard it up top. We are going to the center of the earth to fight space aliens, or maybe we're going to a server to fight an AI. Either way, we're talking a one-of-a-kind franchise. That's right. It's Warner Brothers Space Jams. Only on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Colin, but they call me Wet Fire.
I guess Michael James, because that's my middle name.
Joe G. Rhythm.
And this is King J. Cub?
Oh,
King
nice.
Like King James? Yes.
Wow.
Dang, I should have been Michael B. Jordan, but maybe that's burying the lead a little bit. We'll get there. But the Space Jams. Colin said it's a franchise. Not a franchise until this weekend, past weekend, when a new legacy came out. Yep. It's very big stuff. So we'll be talking Space Jam, both of them. The first one, Michael Jordan, 96, correct? And then now, 2021, it's arrived. It's dethroned Black Widow. Boys. And here we are.
Yeah.
Ball is life.
Yes. Kind of a wild adventure. I guess we'll say up top again, kind of how we watched it. This was a home viewing, HBO Max, right?
Yep, we watched it. This one at home, for sure. And glad that I did. I watched both of them. They're both on HBO, though, right? So
Yes.
that is nice. You can have the nostalgia.
I watched them both as well. I watched A New Legacy the day it came out. As you guys probably know, I'm a pretty big basketball fan. It's my favorite sport. Apologies to football, but and I'm also a huge LeBron James fan. Huge Cleveland Cavaliers fan, obviously, and. As you know, I grew up in Ohio, Canton, Ohio, which is very close to Akron, Ohio, which is where LeBron grew up. And I've always just felt like a special connection with him. The most famous basketball player in the world, and me, we have a special connection.
What's the most personal episode we're going to do on Normies Like Us? Well, probably Space Jam. Yeah, no, I'm with you, buddy. I'm very happy we're doing this.
And LeBron, thanks for listening to this episode. We know you're out there at Jacob's request. And
That's right. We are close personal friends, so I did text him to let him know we were doing this episode.
He requested the episode, actually. He actually messaged you and said, hey, can you cover my new movie, dog? And we were like, I guess we can do that for you.
Yeah, he was going to be on as part of the media blitz for this movie, but I guess he got double booked, so he can't make it tonight, but we're going to talk about it anyways.
Yeah, but that's true. For the listeners of the cast, some Ohio boys out here. I, too, am from Northeast Ohio, not too far from Akron, Cleveland metropolitan area. So affinity for LeBron, and I did like one of the digs they made on him in the second film, but we'll get there.
And Mike, are you a basketball fan?
Not as honestly, basketball is number 3. I like hockey, then football, then basketball. But LeBron is the savior of Cleveland because he made us relevant again. So
yes,
I'm more of a LeBron fan than I am a basketball fan. Let's say it that way.
Totally. Okay, yeah, I'm a diehard Cavs and Browns fan. Those are my two teams, and it's worked out the last 15 years or so because when the Cavs have been good, the Browns are bad, and then the Cavs, as soon as the Cavs became bad again when LeBron left, the Browns got good. So it's like. One of my two teams is always good at some point.
So now,
well, we won't spoil it yet. There's moments in that second one, Mike, where we get the same little intro thing where it's like, we're going to talk about LeBron being in Cleveland. We're going to talk about Miami. We're going to talk about back to Cleveland. Also, LA. It's like, let's scoot past that as quick as possible. But I got to ask Joe, another basketball fan, maybe?
Not really. I mean, I like basketball more than I like baseball, so I guess it's not my least favorite, but I was a kid in the 90s, so obviously I was a Michael Jordan and Space Jam fan.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And as Jacob was saying with the Browns and the Cavs, when one is good, the other is bad, maybe we have a similar situation here with Space Jam and New Legacy. I say we just jump right into it. Let's talk the Space Jams. taking it back to 1996, coming up next.
When the world's greatest athlete, Michael Jordan, teams up with the world's best-loved cartoon character, Bugs Bunny, you won't believe your eyes.
Pardon me, Mr. Jordan. Could I have your your John Hancock?
What's going on here?
We need your help!
You heard of the Dream Team? Well, we're the Mean Team.
Ready?
We're back. We're tagging in. We're talking Space Jam. Like we said, the franchise to beat all franchise. We're going to talk about all of them, but, we'll do a little history and stuff. And Jacob, you're going to be our coach on this one, our Daffy, our manager, talking about the sports side of stuff.
That's right. As the resident basketball expert here at Normies Like Us, I'll explain all the references and nicknames that the different players have on the Monstars, or the Goon Squad, I guess they're called in this one, so that you normies will understand a little
I'll
more.
also need help with some of the finer points of the rules of the game of basketball because just a little bit of clarity once we get to the basketball scenes.
Well, it's important
You explain style points, right?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, they're not really playing basketball, right? They're playing LeBron James' son's video game that he invented at the age of 12 years old. So,
well, let's back it up.
NBA Jam. They invent NBA Jam. But you're right, Mike. We got to talk about the first one first. You said it. 1996. We talked about the Fever too. I was joking off pod with you guys. MJ kind of meant something different for our generation. Michael Jackson maybe, but there was the contention too of like, no, it's Michael Jordan, the biggest star in the world.
Yes. The thing is, with as popular as LeBron James now, like he's famous all over the world, but that's nothing compared to what Michael Jordan was in the 90s. He was like the biggest star in the world. Like everybody knew who Michael Jordan was, and he was basketball. And part of it is because the level of talent wasn't as good in the 90s, so he was just so far above, the rest of them that even though LeBron is great, he can't really rise to that level, I think. So Michael Jordan was just huge. He was just everywhere.
I mean, kind of like the Wayne Gretzky of his sport, somehow just above and beyond, head and shoulders, all of his contemporaries, right? And
totally.
Basically, in that sense. Obviously, everyone gets hockey more than basketball. That's why I was throwing that out there. But another thing that was huge in the 90s is Looney Tunes, right, Colin?
Yes, and I wanted to say for 90s franchises in particular, only 90s kids will remember, which we are all on this podcast. Merchandising and like tie-ins and stuff, like you're saying Looney Tunes were big. People don't understand. You would be at a bus stop. You would see your random neighbor wearing a giant sweater of a 90s hip-hop Tweety bird, and you'd be like, yeah, I guess that's just like a fucking style choice. I want to ask you guys, did you have any of those weird Looney Tunes 90s clothes? And given that none of us are from Chicago, did you have a Bulls jersey, just with how big Michael Jordan was?
Yes to both. I had
Really?
a Looney Tunes jean jacket for some reason.
Whoa, badass.
And, I had
The Holy Grail
jersey.
Wow.
I did not have any Looney Tunes merch as far as I can remember. I did have a Michael Jordan poster that was a poster in my room, my bedroom, and it was Michael Jordan dunking, as he does. And and I wasn't even a Bulls fan. I wasn't even that big of a basketball fan as a kid or a sports fan, but I just had a poster of Michael Jordan for some reason.
Because Michael Jordan wasn't an athlete, he was a superhero. Like, everyone knew who he was, even if they didn't like basketball. That's why when he showed up in Space Jam, as a kid, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Of course he knows Bugs Bunny and they're all buddies because they're all stars.
Yeah. I mean, he really was a superstar. I mean, he had the shoes, Air Jordans. He was in commercials for like Gatorade, McDonald's, like the biggest ubiquitous companies in the world. Like, he was everywhere, like I said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't have personally a Chicago Bulls gear. My cousin had like a 6 starter Chicago Bulls pullover, classic. And then I didn't have any of those awesome like Bugs Bunny wearing Jinkos or anything, but I did have
Tasmanian
a
Devil.
favorite. Yeah, Taz was my favorite Looney Tune.
really?
I remember this era of Tweety with a backwards baseball hat
Yes.
for some reason, right?
Yes.
They were having a
Taz was
resurgence.
on my jean jacket for some reason.
Yeah,
I was gonna say Marvin the
Don't know why.
Martian, Joe, but Taz, that's badass.
Yeah, it was Tasmanian Devil. I don't know how badass it is.
It's great. I love it, man.
But did you ever own any of that stuff, Colin? You have a Bulls jersey?
Yeah, okay, so look, Mike, same thing like your cousin. I had just like I told you in the football episode, a 49ers starter jacket. We didn't watch the 49ers. I wasn't really watching
I had
basketball.
a Toronto
that much.
Raptors. I like dinosaurs. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Why? But my mom had this Looney Tunes country music stars. It was like Willie Nelson was Sam. What's his
Yosemite
name?
Sam?
Wild Sam. Yeah, thank you.
Wild
Yosemite
Sam.
Sam. Here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. Looney Tunes were something you would go over to your grandparents' house and they would just put on, right? Is that sort of what they were to you guys?
I would watch them in my home. I would come across
Really?
them and leave them on.
I don't know how much I even watched Looney Tunes. I just watched this movie Space Jam a lot in the 90s. I don't know if you guys are like this, but I had this movie on VHS and I just watched it like over and over, all constantly.
Looney Tunes were big in that, like, I watched WB cartoons and they would just be the characters that supported the things I like, not the thing I like themselves. Like, right? You guys remember Warner Brothers stores? Like, those stores were always so cool.
Sure.
And like, the big characters in there, like that is where the biggest exposure to Looney Tunes was for me. I could probably count on my hands the amount I've seen like actual shows.
Really?
But Joe, you're so right with the supporting stuff of like Michigan J. Frog would just come on and be like dub WB in between commercials, and you'd be like, okay. And just an interesting thing I want to point out to you guys. The rival to all this, because we're going to talk about Warner Brothers, we're going to talk about synergy, properties and stuff like that. The difference that we're all talking about the first time we saw Bugs, the first time we're seeing Space Jam, this stuff. Over on the other side, Disney, they don't use Mickey Mouse. Mike, outside of like him swinging a Keyblade every 10 years, like you're not really seeing that little mousy motherfucker pop up. You're not getting a franchise like Space Jam where he's the star.
No, that's true. You're not getting a sports movie starring Mickey and friends, right? So
yes, that is surprising that Disney has not like said like, you know what, we need our own version of Space Jam. Let's get fucking Tom Brady or someone to be in it, and we'll do a football thing or something.
Goofy's throwing footballs to Tom Brady, Jacob.
Yeah.
Come on, that's $1 billion.
Pluto's a wide receiver because he's a dog. He likes to play fetch. He'll go and get it. Anyway, we're not giving away our ideas.
Yeah. Contact us, Disney.
But you guys are living in 1996 where they care about those characters, and it's not like the franchise wars of 2020 where it's more important that we have like 45 Batman characters in the background compared to like who's actually on the court.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And 1996, but leading up to this, there was a series of, as Colin was saying, and Jacob too, like advertisements starring Michael Jordan, right? He was in everything, but they were also Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes, because for some reason, they were already old by 1996, but they were having this weird modernization, and then there was a crossover commercial campaign with like Marvin the Martian, at which point it's like, this could just be a movie. And so it literally is like a series of advertisements that someone was like, can we get 90 minutes out of this? Let's go for it, right? And that's what Space Jam is, right?
Totally. That's what it's always been, and I think that's something to keep in mind with the new one coming out. Maybe not living up to people's expectations, but people have to go back and watch the 90s one and realize, that one was overly commercialized as well. So.
Right. So on that note, we've set it up, right? Let's start it off. Colin, on the rewatch, how do you feel, looking at the nostalgia glasses and where you are now with, rewatching the Space Jam?
I would also be curious to know, when it gets to you, Jacob, if seeing it on VHS was the first time you saw it. Because I did not see this in theaters. I saw this for the first time, I think, at a friend's sleepover. And kind of, I'll say this too, the other phenomenon attached to this movie. In the same way that Eiffel 65, the I'm Blue song, kids just like accosted me and was like, what do you mean you don't know that song? You have to sing it. People would just scream the I can't believe I can fly, the soundtracks to this song, and be like,
That's right.
You haven't seen Space Jam yet? So I just remember a lot of lead up to it, and just loving it as a kid, like you guys are saying too. Watching it this time, of course, you just realize you're the dumbest person who ever existed. This is my thesis. This is the worst thing we're ever gonna cover on this podcast. Is this franchise?
And we've done every Transformer. Wow.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing, I think, is that Space Jam, to us, we're all seeing it through the lens of nostalgia, right? If that came out today, and we were adults, we would be like, this is stupid. But just watching it as a kid, it's ingrained in my brain so hard that I can't not like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Joe, how about you?
This was a theater one for me. I did see this in the theaters. Yeah, I remember like being super into it as a kid, and then I would say like at least once every 2 years for the past like 14, 15 years, I've seen Space Jam super fucked up, and every time been like, wow, what a waste of time. This is awful. I need to get my life together.
Oh, wow.
I have fond memories of like watching it as a kid, but I have like more memories of watching it later and be like, why am I doing this?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So this was not theaters for me, but it did have it was in the VHS player like on repeat. I remember falling asleep to this movie many a time. I remember
God.
the opening scene of Michael shooting free throws in the backyard late at night. It's like, just got to work hard. That really stuck with me as a kid.
Mike.
And I'm more of a Looney Tunes fan than I was a Michael Jordan fan at that time in my life. You know what I mean?
Right.
So again, nostalgia goggles were on, but watching it this time, it is a fever dream. It is so bizarre. You know? But the soundtrack slaps, and like you get some Bill
Classic
Murray and Wayne Knight.
soundtrack,
It's fun, but it is
Yeah.
bonkers, like for lack of a better word.
What is so crazy about it? Like what is so crazy about this movie where aliens in the cartoon world kidnap people in the real world and then have the Looney Tunes who are in a different cartoon world as their defenders?
Right.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Enslave
Squawk
them on a
hammer.
space mountain. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And Bill Murray just showing up because a Teamster dropped him off. I think it makes complete sense.
He's friends with the producer.
He was friends with the producer,
Ivan Reitman.
And,
it's the best.
Yeah.
Classic
really,
fourth wall
best
break
Dan
there.
Aykroyd movie.
So, all right, tell us, Jacob. Tell us you seeing this, just your history with this first one, and you watching it now again with, I'm hoping, goggles off.
Well, I did not see this in theaters either. I don't think. I think I've mentioned it before. We had a VCR that had 2 slots, and you could record. So we would rent movies from the video store, and we would just put in a blank tape. So we would just steal all these movies. So we just had a rotation of these VHSs, and I just played that thing so many times. And like I said, I wasn't a basketball fan. I wasn't even really a Looney Tunes fan. I just love that movie. And rewatching it now, it all came back to me. I still love it, even though it's such a weird little movie. I still love it.
I appreciate that it was lean and mean. 90 minutes, it just flew by. The pacing on this thing was, real quick, real brisk, bizarre, but like it didn't I didn't feel like I wasted my time aside from this is just wild.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, every movie now is like too long. That's something that maybe I'm just getting older, but that's something I've noticed, that every movie could just be 20 minutes shorter now. And that includes Space Jam: A New Legacy, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But a quick 90 minutes basically, or whatever the Space Jam is, close to 90 minutes, and it just goes by and it's done.
For the material, I think that's more than enough.
Yes.
Well, it's great. You barely regret watching it, and it goes really fast.
Well, at least
like
it's
a Band-Aid.
fast. It's not Terminator. Some of the Terminators are long and bad. Transformers are long and bad, though. So at least this has, it's played enough to be short. Colin, give us
can I just say, name a franchise that is worse than this thing, guys. That we have covered on this podcast. This is going to be the worst thing we've ever talked about. I love it. Look, I'm with you guys. Some positives. Mike, that moment, there's 2 times I basically cried in the last 2 days. I watched New Legacy first, then I watched this one. Both of the times were the intros. I got very emotional when Michael's dad comes out. We should all say, this is the first time I've watched this since I watched The Last Dance, that incredible documentary
Hell
series.
yeah.
I feel like I know him more as a person. So I know that his dad, who died under mysterious circumstances and totally wasn't affiliated with gambling or anything, and there's totally nothing mysterious about it at all.
Or joining
Coming
baseball.
out and saying that stuff to Michael is like super interesting and great, but it's just, guys, this is a piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, I do like how it incorporates his real life events. So I've seen The Last Dance twice, actually. I saw it when it first came out, and then I rewatched it on Netflix recently, and I just love it. But but it really shows you what was going on, with Michael, his father dying, and then him retiring from basketball the first time to go play baseball, which was his father's dream for him, basically. And all that's incorporated into the movie in like a pretty clever way, I think. So that's one thing I have to give it credit for.
Yeah.
Plot structure, Jacob. Danny DeVito, who I didn't even put in the notes because I forgot this motherfucker was the bad guy in this first movie, says, "Why didn't you steal his talent? He seems like a ball player. He's a baseball player." Like, that's clever.
Every once in a while they do something clever, right? It's pretty wild. I like how they integrated his real life events, like Jacob's saying, and like this movie only happened because he did return to basketball, and they were like, "Oh shit, you play basketball again? Let's do that advertising thing we talked about." Finally, right? So I think for me, the stuff that I like is, as an adult, is like the weird human stuff. Like, I enjoy Wayne Knight kind of just trying to be friends with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan wants none of it. Right. And then like he's fixing a divot, trying to find Michael Jordan after he gets pulled into the golf hole. And, that stuff is all kind of works because it's Wayne Knight, I guess.
Yeah. Speaking of Wayne Knight, isn't it weird how he was kind of everywhere in the 90s? Like, he was on Seinfeld, he was in Jurassic Park, he was in Space Jam. He's just kind of everywhere in the background.
He's a regular Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Right.
Wayne Knight is the Michael Jordan of cameos.
That's right.
Truly.
But what do we think then? I guess people always dog on Michael Jordan's performance, and when you look at modern reviews of it, they say he's terrible. Joe, how is Michael Jordan's acting?
It's on par with LeBron James's.
Hey, there you go.
It's the same movie. So.
Can I just jump in and say, do you guys remember that series of Hanes commercials when he became the underwear spokesperson?
Yes.
That is the only thing that rivals how lazy he is coming across in this movie. When he out of nowhere has that little Hitler mustache they decided to do, everybody's like, "I don't know, Michael Jordan." That is how bad he is in this film.
Yeah, that's about the energy level. It's what he's trying to sell you, Hanes.
It's just like such a, I'm happy to be here. Like, it was the 90s, 9/11 hadn't happened yet. Everyone's just collecting their paychecks. The economy's doing great. There's company synergy. Just everyone's just collecting their paychecks, happy to be there.
Getting away with it.
Well, and so much of his acting is like, okay, you're acting against a bunch of cartoons, so just like pretend that they're there. So it's like, that's a lot harder to do, I think, than act with other actors. So I kind of cut him a break as, someone who's not a professional actor. And his work ethic in the 90s was insane too. Like, if you watch The Last Dance, while shooting this movie, like after shooting, he would go do these long workout sessions, and it's just like, when did he have time to sleep? But he was an amazing athlete. So
he'd go to the casinos.
He was making millions of dollars.
Yeah, like, he's our hero. He was a little boy's hero. Just the importance of what this brand was for him. If you guys recall, he would not sign license deals. We talked about how many commercials he was in, but he would not appear in NBA Jam. He was like, no, you cannot use me. You cannot use me in other stuff. He appeared in the goddamn Space Jam game. Like, that alone was a reason to be like, power up the Super Nintendo, baby.
Yeah, right.
I wonder if he's in Dominic James's basketball game.
Doubtful. We'll find out. Who was the
crossed with the spider, Jacob?
Right. In NBA Jam, who was it? It was Scottie Pippen and Who else? I can't remember, but it wasn't
It was
Jordan.
Bill Clinton, if you put in a code, and you
Yeah,
could
you could get
also
Bill
unlock
Clinton.
a guy who had the same jersey number as Michael and was like a guy on the bench who I think his name was like Jordan Clamper or something like that. It's like cool.
Michael Jurgen.
Michael Morden, right. But so Michael Jordan has to save the Looney Tunes because they're going to be enslaved, right? The setup is a little cleaner. It's stupid, but it's like, we need a basketball guy. We'll pull him down here. We'll play basketball. They've never played basketball. Looniness ensues. And the aliens, upon learning what basketball is, getting conned into playing the game, they steal the powers from all the NBA players. Jacob,
Yes.
who are these players and why are they relevant? And why do they matter?
As a non-basketball guy, the only person I recognized was Charles Barkley.
Joe, did you recognize him?
What up? What up, Charles Barkley? Yeah, it's all of us.
Yeah, so this has always been a pet peeve of mine, is that the makeup of this team makes no sense. So they get Charles Barkley, they get 2 power forwards, 2 centers, and Muggsy Bogues, literally the shortest person to ever play in the NBA. So that makes no sense. You got 4 big men. You should have at least, another guard and like a wingman. But
well, the Looney Tunes are all short. They met them. They're trying to play the physical domination game, box them out, right?
But your spacing would be terrible with that lineup. You got 2 centers in the paint. Makes no sense. But
you're also a monster Frankenstein that's like 20 feet tall. I'm not too worried about it.
But of course, you have Charles Barkley, who was the second best player of the 90s. He's the Kevin Durant to Michael Jordan's LeBron. You also had Larry Bird in this movie a little bit. He had retired by this
like
point.
a buddy.
He was like golfing with Jordan.
Yes, because in real life they did have like a golfing frenemies thing where they were competing against each other all the time. But Larry Bird was retired by that point. So you have Charles Barkley. You have I don't even remember the names of some of these guys.
Patrick Ewing.
Patrick Ewing, from the Knicks.
Ewing.
The tall white guy, I forget his name. Sean Bradley. He wasn't even that good, even in the 90s. Like, he only played like 10 minutes a game, but he was just a very tall center.
They got him for the look.
Yeah, I think so, to kind of differentiate, because he's the tall, skinny blue guy, I think.
Yeah, he's the blue one with the dumb face.
The doofus.
Yeah. But Sean Bradley, never that good. I don't think he ever made an all-star team, so it's like a little weird selection. And then Muggsy Bogues as the point guard, famously the shortest player to ever play in the NBA. And you got to be really good if you're short, obviously.
Mm-hmm. You got the handles, apparently. What do we think about the subplot of this? Because I like some of it. Like, I like them being like in therapy and trying to figure out why. I like Charles Barkley going to play basketball with these girls in the neighborhood. They say, "You're not Charles Barkley. You suck. Get out of here." Like,
and this is something that I was missing in the new one, which we'll talk about. But
when we get
the
there,
NBA player cameos are so much better in this one. They get whole scenes where they're doing that stuff, and I think that really adds to the movie.
That's the strength of this, I think, even in my opinion, if you can call it that.
I mean, it is a basketball movie still, right? Like that, the 1996, it is a Looney Tunes and a basketball movie. It's a sports movie. I don't think you can say the same thing for the sequel.
Yeah, so I guess the final thing we could let's talk the basketball scene. It's going to lead up to the big game, right? Obviously, both these movies have similar structure. How do we feel about the big game and that whole execution? Obviously, there's plenty of weird rule breaking, but I enjoy the big game in Space Jam 96 quite a bit, actually. It's fun. Wayne Knight gets a moment. Bill Murray gets a moment. The whole movie, he's seeding this idea.
Jordan's,
hey, these players are losing their powers.
Stuff. It's like a cool subplot.
Yeah, the placebo. Yeah, so I like that a lot of that stuff pays off. Bill Murray always trying to sneak in. These players are getting sick. They're going to need new guys. Maybe somebody who never got a shot. And is always getting shot down. He finally gets to do it. And then, I like it. They win the game, and they're like, Bill Murray, do you want to celebrate? And he's like, nope, I'm out of here. My cameo's done.
Hey, no way, man.
I'm not hanging out with these Looney Tunes. But, what do you think, Jacob?
Love Bill Murray in this, and the basketball stuff. I like it because it's like a good mix of Looney Tunes bits mixed in with the basketball, but it's like still a recognizable basketball game most of the time, which is more than you can say for the new one possibly. But I like it. Yeah.
The thing I wonder is, it appears that there are no rules. I don't want to get too into a Looney Tunes basketball game, but like they're shooting guns. They're doing a lot of things that should be
Yes.
illegal in a basketball game. But the one rule there is Marvin the Martian is like, you need 5 players or you'll forfeit. And like I said, anything goes. You just need 5 bodies on the court. We don't care what you do after that.
Right. And then Michael Jordan doesn't realize until the very end that he can like stretch his arm out and do wacky Looney Tunes bits, and they don't tell him this until the end. And he's like, "You should have told me that earlier."
And he does the big arm stretch, the famous arm stretch. It's not even a slam dunk. He just drops the ball.
No, but I mean, come on. He's known as Air Jordan. It's the pose he's doing on his shoes. He is just bringing it home. You know, little kids at home are like, I'm going to buy those. Tongue out, of course. It's
classic.
Yeah, and
it's perfect.
Yeah, it works. So, they win the day. Looney Tunes are saved. And, victory, right? And the only other note I have, I guess, on this one is the introduction. Internet, get ready. Lola Bunny introducing this as the only basketball rabbit.
Some bad stuff is coming, Mike. Watch out for Rule XXX or whatever that's called. Now, thank you, Mike.
I don't
One
need to
thing
know that.
I just want to say, though. Hey, I said the rule part. One thing I just want to point out, though, we're going to get the smallest, teeniest bit of continuity between 1 and 2 here. In the sequel, our little alien monsters reappear again.
Yeah.
But my number one complaint, they're like mad at the Toons, who I'm not even positive I understand that. They all willingly give those powers back at the end. They're freed from slavery.
And they stay behind because they would say, can we hang out with you? You guys are pretty cool.
Right.
Why don't they live on the planet Looney?
I didn't see that, so you'll have to explain that once. I totally must have missed that, but I like.
They were just a little cameo in the crowd at one point.
Yeah, they're just hanging out.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like those guys, and I remember. I think they even appeared in subsequent Looney Tunes work, like periodically, like in cartoons.
They've shown up in a handful of little things that have happened.
Yeah, nothing significant, but overall, I mean, I think dumb sports movie, but sports movie elements work more or less, and the soundtrack frickin' slaps.
It's a banger.
Even if you have to delete the R. Kelly track, which I would, it still slaps. The whole soundtrack is so good.
Absolutely. And the last thing I just want to say, it might be a bad movie, but I still will always love it. And it's a snapshot of a very specific time, the 90s, 96 in particular. It just feels like everyone was on top of the world, and it could only go downhill from there, and it did.
And it did. Let's go downhill right now. Maybe. We'll see. Talk about it. Space Jam, A New Legacy, or not. Coming up next, Normies Like Us.
Welcome, King James.
I'm a cartoon? I'm shorter than Kevin Hart. No.
What's up, Doc?
Bugs, bring it here, man.
What brings you to Tone War, Doc?
The computer dude kidnapped my son. Dog! What in the Matrix hell? Hey! What'd you do to my son?
The only way you're getting your son back is if you and I play a little basketball.
You want to play me in basketball?
We're back. Welcome back to the Space Jam. Oh, Jacob, hold on. Put your fancy phone away with that incredible scanner device. We don't want any sort of accidents on us now.
Look, I may be only 12 years old, but I created my own video game, so,
Hey,
God.
With asset flips on Steam and Unity, and like a 12-year-old could conceivably make a basketball game, I think,
Sure, yeah, it's just
if you went to E3, can't be good.
Oh, talk about dated.
Look, he's not a regular 12-year-old, okay? He's the 12-year-old of the elite. Those are different.
Ooh.
They are
He's the prince.
access to a lot more, okay?
That's the thing you have to keep in mind is that, with the resources that he has, if my dad was a multimillionaire, I could probably make a video game too with all the technology and stuff.
Go
and
get on Fiverr.
Here's the difference.
You could invent NBA.
NBA
Jam.
You start out right away. It's just so different because you have Michael Jordan, a superhero in my eyes. Literally, it makes sense to see him next to these characters. He is a character himself. And now, like, as an adult, seeing LeBron James, all I can think of, like, oh, it must be nice to have, like, a house or a yard Oh, is that your basketball court? Fuck you, LeBron.
Your
Like,
private
I'm gonna need
home.
an
You
out
Yeah.
on
should
all
have
this.
practiced
Mansion.
basketball more, Joe, as a kid.
Yeah.
I wasn't out at midnight
Kept the
shooting
Game Boy
free throws.
Color.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's something to address here right off the bat. Game Boy Color. That's a good thing because in this universe, the Space Jam movie exists. Was it a Space Jam backpack or was it just
What?
Looney Tunes?
I don't know if that's just
think
a
it was
Bugs
just
Bunny
Looney Tunes.
game. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was just a
I
Bugs
don't
Bunny
know.
game. Okay. I could have just.
Well, I think
invented
Space
that.
Jam did happen in the events of this movie because they make callbacks to it, and there's a one joke in particular which I think was the funniest joke in the movie, which we'll get to. But
But it wasn't a theatrical release film in this universe, so
no, I don't think it was a film.
Little
it was just
LeBron
like
was just a
event-
fan of the Looney
Why would it
Tunes.
not be though? Like,
It should be.
Shit.
technically, I would think it is because the whole movie takes place inside the serververse. So
Right.
if we see cameos of the other aliens from the first movie and they are in the serververse, I mean, isn't that?
And if Michael
like,
Jackson,
this isn't even.
Michael Jordan gets dropped off to a baseball game in a spaceship, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that happened in the real world.
Right,
People
right.
witnessed
No,
that.
I don't think so. So here's my big pitch: is it's not
Oh, wow, Joe.
it is like some sort of Matrix situation where it's all in a simulation. Like
Even the first film
like
is in the
this
server.
Bugs Bunny. Yeah, so if the first film is in the server, then this is not the Bugs Bunny who did all of those things.
Whoa.
This is the Bugs Bunny who was the actor in that movie.
Making me
Does that
nervous.
make
So the
you get what
first
I'm saying?
Space Jam that we
sense.
watched in '96 was invented by Algae Rhythm as a market test to make the LeBron
hope
one.
so.
It was a product. It was,
Wow.
one of the 9 billion franchises that this movie is a commercial for.
And that's a big thing too. So here we go. Space Jam: New Legacy. LeBron's rich. His son's rich. He's making video games. But this movie is about a lot more than what is advertised to us as the Looney Tunes and LeBron. There is a lot going on here once we get to the
Yes.
serververse. One thing I want to say though, the plot does make at least more sense in the sense that Don Cheadle kidnaps LeBron's son, so he kind of has to do the game. Michael Jordan's just like, okay.
Yeah, okay, I'll play some basketball for you.
So at least
Yeah,
there's something there.
There's more stakes in this movie for sure. My question is, why even call it Space Jam? They're not really in. I guess they're in space in the server, but it should be called like Tron Jam, right?
It feels like Tron Jam.
Yeah.
Interspace Jam.
Does anyone say Space Jam in this movie?
Well,
I don't remember them doing it.
Probably not. I don't think so. No.
I'm so bummed out, guys.
They didn't
This
play
is
the song. Yeah, Colin,
the
you go
worst
ahead.
movie we've ever done. Like, look, Mike, you said there's an undercurrent to something else going on here.
Mm-hmm.
The play for this is, normies, when you look at the state of the world, how content is consumed and stuff, it's very important right now for brand identity. Back in the day, it was important for brand synergy. It makes sense to revive a dead property with a different property that's working and kick all that money back upstairs. Here it's like, there's no point doing anything unless my name is on that thing. If you're not seeing my name 400 times a day, I'm not beating the guy who you're seeing their name 300 times a day. So there's no point to it, right? This is the battle for Warner Brothers. Now, we get so much imagery in this that's the shield of what Warner Brothers is, right? You know, with the W and the B taken out. Now, Joe, I don't know about you. When I see that, even though it is a property that WB owns, I think of superheroes. I think of like Superman or something. You know, I'm not thinking of the shield that is Warner Brothers. They don't have a one-to-one of what is the, you know, Disney logo. You know, the magic of seeing Mickey Mouse's ears, right? Which is their version of that WB shield. Instead, they got the water tower. The water tower is a one-to-one to the Magic Castle. But, you know, I ask you this, guys. When I even say the words Warner Brothers, what do you think of? I think of and Dot. You know, I think of the Animaniacs. You know, it's something that they don't even own. That's something that's on Hulu. Something that they don't even, like, Warner Brothers doesn't have the foresight to, like, own all the things that they make or whatever.
Right.
So instead, what they spit out is Space Jam 2. And they say, this will be everything that we make. And is that what Space Jam is?
Well, here's the thing, Colin. in the 90s, there was no kind of concept of a connected universe.
Yeah.
But we live in a post, MCU world where every studio needs like to have their own connected universe where all their properties are, like you said, brand synergy, right? So, Warner Bros. Is looking at Disney with their Marvel and their Star Wars, and they have all this successful stuff, and they're thinking, hey, we need something like that to like, we need to show all of our different properties together so people can be like, oh, cool, Warner Brothers. So what better vehicle to do that than the Space Jam movie?
We'll see your Mighty Ducks Game Changers and raise you a new legacy. Right, go ahead.
I think you're right and wrong at the same time, because like this isn't an MCU. This isn't a connected universe. This is a commercial. This is the difference between content and filmmaking. This is a piece of content. This is a 5-minute spot before the NBA final game to get you to sign up for HBO Max. That's all it is. I don't think it's trying to create like a connected universe where we're going to see Space Ghost and Scooby-Doo and all of that together. I just think it's literally meant for you to be like, oh, yeah, you're right, Warner Brothers. You do have properties and franchises.
You own Wizard of Oz. That is strange that MGM, went under. It's like,
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, Joe. It is, to sell stuff, but it's like, it's Warner Brothers saying, see all these different properties we have together. Like if the concept of like connected universes existed in the 90s, that's what the original Space Jam would have been, because the original Space Jam was just like, Michael Jordan's popular, Looney Tunes are popular, let's put them together and sell a lot of merch and stuff. And that's what they're doing with this, but they're just taking it to the next level, and they're saying, let's put all of our properties in here for some reason.
Jacob,
it's a commercial for Warner Brothers, which is like crazy, because it's not a commercial for the NBA or Looney Tunes or like Burger King. It is literally a calling card they made for themselves, which is just like mind-blowing that someone had the ego to do that.
I mean, it takes so long in this movie before we even meet the Looney Tunes, right?
Yes.
It takes, and by the time we meet just Bugs, then we go on, if you're a Gargoyles fan, what I would call the World Tour arc, where they're just visiting Warner properties for these one-off jokes, essentially. There's a lot of them. You see in the trailer, LeBron, before he goes in the serververse, says, "What in the Matrix hell?" Like, that line isn't funny in any way. He just had to say the word Matrix because...
Also, when they go to the Matrix world, it's so, like, nondescript that they literally just write the Matrix on top of the planet.
Right.
So you know which franchise we're about to reference. Like, it doesn't even... Like, Westeros, it just has, like, the icon... Or, like, the floating things. The iconography you get with it. But, like, Matrix is so just nondescript green.
The Matrix.
It is weird. Some of the
logo.
So let's talk about some of these.
Some of the references they go to are very strange. Like they have, well, first of all, Mad Max Fury Road, obviously, which
made me very upset because note on that. Afterwards, I was like, you know what? That's my favorite movie of the decade. I want to watch it. Go to HBO Max. Unavailable. So get fucked, Warner. Anyway,
commercial's not even working.
Yeah, the commercial's not working right. I have HBO Max, but you don't have what you said you did.
You got to go out and buy it, I guess, on Blu-ray. But
anyway,
so we have, and a lot of these are just, they didn't shoot new stuff for this. It's just the existing footage, and then they just put LeBron and Bugs Bunny like over it, kind of.
Like it's the Oscars in 1999.
Yes, absolutely, Joe.
In the movie.
And Jacob, they will do the lazy writing of like LeBron of Thrones, and you're like, oh, okay.
This movie was written by an algorithm. It is so simple.
Well,
like, and this movie was just give the algorithm its flowers, please.
Right. Well, that's insane. The funny thing is that the villain of this movie is an algorithm whose idea at the beginning is to basically put a cartoon LeBron James into different properties, and then LeBron's like, no, that's the stupidest idea I ever heard. But then they literally do that. So it's like the movie acknowledging that it's bad and it knows it's bad, but like, does that make it okay? If you're self-aware that you're bad, I don't think so, but at least it's something.
You can't have your cake and eat it too. And I like the idea of this algorithm getting butthurt. It's very Eagle Eye, the runaway algorithm, right? It's Rocco's basilisk. Oh, I will. Everyone who didn't help me come into existence, I will now punish, and that's you, LeBron, right? Like, get fucked.
Yeah, and I do want to say, Don Cheadle is killing it in this movie. Like, he's doing so much a better job than this movie.
He puts it on his back and just carries it the whole way.
What a pro!
Like, you don't have Bill Murray, but you have Don Cheadle, and that makes it okay. But like some of the other human elements are just like non-existent. Jacob, like we'll talk about the basketball stars, but even before that, like his manager is
Malik,
wildly wildly uncharismatic. There's nothing there. He has a nagging wife, and he's a bad dad.
To my Star Trek boys, we get the USS Enterprise comes in and beams down his wife to play the character.
Yes.
Joe, she is not only so boring. Now, there's nothing you can do with this written character, but at another point, she's like eagerly into them playing the game against each other in a way that is just unimaginable. That is your son going up against his father. This should be a nightmare situation.
And the stakes are people are going to die.
Yes.
We'll
be
trapped in HBO Max forever.
Yeah, even so the threat is if LeBron doesn't win, you're all forced to subscribe forever to HBO Max.
Unlimited billing.
Right, automatic billing.
Yeah. I want to say,
Let's talk about
Sonequa Martin Green.
Well, I'm just saying I don't want to jump out of the worlds because there's two that work good. It's a big commercial, but I do think when it's a cartoon like the DC stuff was working for me more. Like Themyscira and the Justice League stuff was fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
One thing I would say, I would watch a
Lola.
whole movie with that style from the Themyscira
Yes.
scene. Like, I thought that was pretty inventive.
Joe, when you were a kid, did you have, I don't know if it was Burger King or McDonald's, but the toys that were the Looney Tunes mixed with the DC, it was the Batman.
And you see the Daffy Duck.
Yes,
Batman.
Daffy.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. Yeah. The Wonder Woman stuff, it's interesting because it's like the Gal Gadot Wonder Woman universe with the music and everything, but then it's Rosario Dawson voicing Wonder Woman, actually, who has voiced her before in the DC animated movies and stuff. So, a little interesting tidbit there.
Which
I didn't even notice until like halfway through that it's the beginning of Wonder Woman 1984 too.
Yes.
And Cassie was like, "It's the plot of the opening of that movie," and I was like,
"Totally.
I
You guys didn't notice that right away?"
I did, but I liked it.
I didn't notice it right away.
I like that Lola would end up like, if I'm gonna go anywhere, I'm gonna freaking join the Amazons and Wonder Woman and Themyscira.
Right.
Let's go. Like, that was fun. And the best song in this movie, because the soundtrack sucks ass, is Wonder Woman's theme, because that song does slap.
Yes, that's a great song.
Yeah.
Lola Bunny voiced by Zendaya in this movie, which is kind of weird because she's the only celebrity voice casting. Like all the other Looney Tunes are just regular voice actors, but
they're the Looney Tunes.
And the reverence that they
feels
treat
so
her with,
awful.
is so much like LeBron will be like, "Thanks, Lola. You're the one who pays attention." Be like, "I got your back, LeBron," and you're like, "What is this?"
Right,
She was
Lola,
the only one who knew
only
what basketball
pops up.
was in the previous one.
Is she even part of the Looney Tunes? Because she's only
she's a jammer.
No, she joined the Looney Tunes too. She would show up in some other.
I never
stuff
saw
later.
her in anything other than Space Jam. I don't think, but they need to use her more because first of all, there's like barely any female Looney Tunes to begin with. So, but yeah. So if I can go back to some of the references, so we had Fury Road. Then we have Austin Powers, very weird reference in the year 2021. And then we even have like Casablanca.
Yeah, they did Casablanca.
Yeah.
There's certain things where they're almost not even reminding me that they own them. They're reminding me that these things existed. Like when the Austin Powers thing happened, I was like, oh my God, that was a franchise.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's still a thing.
Yeah,
and I think that the most recent references are like Fury Road, which came out a few years ago, obviously Game of Thrones, which ended a few years ago, and then Rick and Morty.
Yeah, Rick and Morty.
With Justin Roiland doing the voice.
Being held hostage, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm sure he got paid a decent amount.
They have a lighter with his contract. Say the lines, Justin.
It's an Adult Swim show. It's, all ties back to Warner, okay? Remember, we got our fingers in a lot of pot. That's like moral of the story.
Right. Yeah. I think the worst part of it was the audience members that are just continually cheering and stuff behind the
cosplayers.
It's like a Spirit Halloween threw up in the background of this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure there were like 6 costumes that just rotate their way around.
Yeah, and they're so animated at some points that it's like distracting.
Oh,
like,
Mr. Pennywise, I'm like, sit down, buddy. You're going crazy.
I don't know who was like directing the extras, but it's insane.
Because they're clearly extras. It's not like you're like, let's get a good CG rendition of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. It's just a weird ass guy.
No. So
There's the
Mike,
mask at one point.
But to Joe's point, it's the 10 extras around the entire ring are Spirit Halloween. We got them as close as we could. But then, Mike, the CG sea of characters of Scooby-Doo, the Jetsons, Grape Ape, all these big ass motherfuckers. With this sort of Zack Snyder Army of the Dead, out of focus filter over all of them, because they're like, well, look, we can't render all these things. Like, we need people to know that we own this stuff, but we can't show them this stuff.
They do the big end, so we have a whole series of scenes that are just jokes in our properties, and then just here's the rest of them. Quality be damned, right?
In case you missed them, here's 4 Jokers. You're like, wow.
Right. And here's Pennywise. Here's the Clockwork Orange guys.
They could have played an entire tournament against different factions of Warner.
My God, it is so much more weird and specific than that. There are goons who appear in like 1 to 3 episodes of Batman the 66 show that are taking up like 2 rows.
Wow.
It is so bizarre. All of these circus bad guys from Batman Returns are in the background for some reason.
The Danny DeVito
makes
penguin.
No sense.
Which Danny DeVito is in both these movies somehow, which is funny. But
that's funny.
Call.
And neither at the same time.
What bums me out about all this kind of referencing their own material and stuff is like they set up a very interesting Space Jam New Legacy in which LeBron wants King Kong and the Iron Giant and Superman on his team. Which is much better. Get Henry Cavill's Superman just snapping.
I did like the joke when he's like, we can get Iron Giant, he can play with his favorite superhero, Superman,
Yeah, Superman's from Cleveland, he's invented in Cleveland, let's go, and then, like, you would want King Kong on your team if anything goes, but Bugs Bunny's just like, no, we're not going to let you do that.
No, it's us again, but kind of not really.
Bugs is sabotaging this whole great plan to draft the super team. And even Lola's like about to join the Amazons, and then Bugs ruins that. He's like, well, why don't you play basketball with us instead?
Right.
Yeah, come on. Don't you want to go hang out with Speedy Gonzalez and Grandma again? Everyone's favorite pair of characters that stuck together for some reason.
Right. It's like, you never want to see you again, Bugs.
But yeah, like I said, these background characters are so distracting. Every time they cut to John Cheadle on the sidelines when he has lines, like, all I can focus on is like the fans freaking out behind you. Pennywise I
think that's the point. I think that's what we were supposed to be watching, to be honest. That's how it felt. Like,
what?
I feel
Warner
like you were
Brothers
supposed to be scanning the
Cowboys. They're like, one of them must. We're showing you Cowboys a lot.
There's pirate movies. Here you go.
Like, there are.
Yeah,
but I want to go back to the beginning of this movie. Let's talk about LeBron and his family. So one thing I think is interesting, kind of weird about this movie is that his family, they're all played by actors, obviously, but they're modeled off of his actual family with slight name changes.
Very weird.
Yeah, so like his wife, played by Sonequa Martin Green, Michael Burnham, like you said in Star Trek Discovery, probably the easiest paycheck she's ever made. But she's based on his real wife, just her name is a little bit different. And then their kids are the same age as actual kids and same genders, but just, again, slightly different name changes.
I need to assemble an elite team.
You need a dream team. I'll take it from here. Sam, shoot the ball. Let's try that again, shall we?
We'll get your son back. I promise.
What's happening?
Up the jam.
I look expensive.
Introducing the Goons Squad.
What? I got it! Oh, She got me. I'm not a betting duck, but my money's on the other team.
Look, I want to talk strengths. This is the strengths moment for me, Jacob. I said the family stuff was getting me. One, the kid actors in this are 1,000,000 times better than the kids in the first one and subplots. You know, we kind of know how to write kids in general now. I like that the older brother was supportive of the younger brother. They're playing that playful game in the beginning. But the moment that made me tear up, Jacob, and I'm getting emotional now thinking about it, is, again, the opening scene. Seeing how young LeBron's mom was, knowing that she was a teenager when she had him and dropping him off at school, and that coach, I know we laughed about the Game Boy thing, but saying the very specific lines of, if you're good at this, this could change your mom's life. I'm positive somebody did explain that to a young LeBron at a certain age, and that is a huge responsibility. And it sets him up that you kind of relate to him for the rest of this movie to be like, yeah, he fucking had it really hard.
Totally. If I could, I'll just talk about LeBron James a little bit. I knew of him, way back when he was in high school. I knew about him when he was playing for, St. Vincent St. Mary in Akron, Ohio. He was a huge local star because everyone knew he was going to be going in the NBA and he was going to be probably going to be a superstar. Even in high school, they knew that. But he was raised by a single mom. He was very, poor growing up. He had to actually lived on his coach's couch for certain periods of time through middle school and high school. And it was kind of his one way to kind of get out of poverty was to become a basketball star. And now he's obviously super rich, but he is all about family. Like his public persona is that he's kind of overly earnest. Sometimes he can come off as cheesy or corny, which is a valid criticism, but he is really wholesome and all about family. And he's honestly a great role model because he is just such a family-oriented guy. Like that's the real LeBron. So I think that is a strength of this movie, the family message. You have the older son who is based off LeBron James Jr., who is great at basketball. Then you have his middle son, right, who he wants to be also good at basketball, but he's not listening to what his son wants. His son doesn't want to play basketball. His son wants to make video games, right?
Right.
Wants to go to the E3 camp, guys. A totally relatable thing that's definitely not written by a 60-year-old producer who Googled video games that day.
E3 will definitely
be around next year. You guys remember when he did the dad jab?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
That fits the LeBron character because he would do something that's like 4 years out of date. Yeah.
Bad dab, boy cringe. E3.
And I do, E3. Well, what I do like, I guess, with an asterisk, like the script where it's like he's playing a video game and his coach is like, knock that shit off, play basketball. That's what's important. So like it explains why he kind of doesn't see the value in the video game's son. At least it's set up somewhat, right? It's not out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a beautifully written commercial. Like,
right.
It's got a good message,
as good as
functions well. But like, come on, guys, it is.
But I think the family stuff hits harder in this movie than it did in the original. Like the son is a bigger part than anything that happened in the Michael Jordan one. But his son is kind of misunderstood. He wants to make video games, and we should say he's 12 years old. And he made his own video game, which would make him like a genius. And his dad should get behind his dreams because he's
basketball video game. I mean,
he still likes basketball.
Combining all of our interests, Dad. I'm inventing NBA Jam. It doesn't exist in this universe.
That's right.
Okay.
Right, and he has the ability to, like you say, make complete models of NBA stars just on his phone using some kind of
scanning them.
Yeah,
they have the
because
legal
they were
rights.
hanging out.
Yeah, they're allowed to sign away their likeness and image for Dom LeBron's game.
Right,
Jacob, will you tell us who any of these people are? When the snake popped up, I thought it was a black mamba, and I gasped because I was like, this movie, there's no chance they're about to do this.
No, well, that's the thing is that, okay, so you have Diana Taurasi, and this is another element that I like, is they use WNBA stars, which WNBA never gets enough credit. They're just as good as NBA players. They nobody seems to care, but I like the WNBA. But Diana Taurasi is one of the best female basketball players ever, and she was called the White Mamba because she was kind of like the Kobe of the WNBA. Like her game was very similar, so she's the White Mamba, and that's why that's her nickname in this movie. So that's her.
Okay.
Then you have
She's a snake lady in this movie.
Makes sense.
Yes, which is great. Then you have Anthony Davis, the Brow, who's LeBron's teammate on the Lakers, obviously, and his signature thing is that he has a unibrow, obviously. So of course that's what they make his character about.
Becomes
But
a
why
harpy.
is he a bird?
He becomes a bird man.
I guess he has a long wingspan, I guess.
Does he ever flap his arms in a fashion?
Is he covered in feathers?
I don't think so.
Otherwise, just get Larry Bird back in here. Anyway.
Yes,
moving
it
on.
should have been Larry Bird, Mike.
Who's
Well,
the
they want to
spider?
use contemporary stars,
here
I
we
think.
go.
But one of my big complaints about this movie is that the NBA cameos aren't that good and they don't get enough screen time. And then you have Damian Lillard, who is honestly one of my favorite basketball players. Like, I know I said LeBron. I'm a huge LeBron fan, but from just a game style point of view, Damian Lillard is one of my favorite players to watch. He plays for the Portland Trailblazers, and he is Kronos in this movie, and he gets like a special introduction.
Dame time.
Because that's his thing that he does.
God.
So he's known for basically hitting super clutch shots at the end of game, and he goes like this. Dame time. That's like his signature thing. So they incorporated a time element into his superpower with like slowing down time or whatever.
Okay, I could dig that. So what's the deal with the spider?
Who's Wet Mop?
Oh
yeah. So Wet Fire is Klay Thompson of the Golden State Warriors.
That was Klay Thompson.
Yeah, he hasn't actually played for like 3 years because he's been constantly injured, which is kind of funny that he's in this movie because he's not played an NBA game in like 2.5 years. But Klay Thompson, known for playing with Stephen Curry on the Golden State Warriors, and they're called the Splash Brothers because they're both great three-point shooters. So he is Wet Fire because he's wet, but he's also on fire, I guess.
Makes
and all these
sense.
people have handles, would you say?
Damian Lillard has the best handles of all these people.
Mad handles, would you say?
Yeah, and style points.
But I want to know about the spider, please.
Yeah, and lastly we have
Shelob, my favorite NBA player.
Yes, Nneka Okwumike.
Owned by Warner Brothers. Watch it now on HBO
Of course,
Max.
Samwise Gamgee kills this character.
I want Samwise on my team.
Nneka Okwumike, which is she's another WNBA player. I'm not as familiar with her, and I don't really know what the spider thing is about, other than they can make a rack NECA pun with her name.
Okay.
So I guess it's just
but you see,
Probably
Dom is like
Probably
scanning.
could just be.
Yeah.
I do like that he's scanning animals like on his phone, and it's like, oh, this will be something later. And again, it's like, okay, it's a well-written commercial.
Well,
Right.
to
Yeah,
Jacob
we
saying that it's the
scan
worst
tarantula.
scene.
Yeah.
Well, but the players get the scene. Yo, hey, make sure I have a special move. Yeah, and I should be able to like get power-ups. Them asking what video game terms are 2 seconds before they say the line.
Again, the cameos are like nothing from the actual players. Like I wanted scenes of like Damian Lillard and Anthony Davis like losing their powers and like playing some kids
Going
in
to
the street.
therapy and stuff.
Yeah,
I wanted a shot-for-shot remake with new people. Okay.
obviously.
I wanted them
That's right.
sucked in. They're put into the thing by algae rhythm, and they're like, "What is this? We're about to merge you with a spider." No.
Yeah.
And then they're like,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
it's like a
playing in the
body
next
horror.
scene. That'd be crazy."
Yeah, they're just
Screen David Cronenberg movies now on HBO.
right.
Why didn't David
Like Street
Cronenberg
Fighter.
direct this?
But yeah, that's the villains are not as strong here. Like they might be more identifiable as their likenesses in real life, but I think the Monstars are a way better enemy squad.
These
than
are goons,
the Goon Squad.
Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
The
not
Goon
monsters. They're
Squad.
goons.
Goon Squad.
Couldn't even come up with a name. They were like, they're the Goons.
Toon Squad.
And again,
Goon
I
Squad.
think the selection of these players is a little weird. Like Damian Lillard and Anthony
Yes.
Davis make sense, and Diana Taurasi, but it just seems like they just got whoever would say yes.
People were talking about Blake
Yes.
Griffin, long when the rumor mill is going. I don't know.
Yeah,
If he's,
unfortunately, Blake
A
Griffin
very
hasn't been good.
charismatic actor.
He
Yeah.
is. He's one of the. He's done comedy on the side and stuff, so he would have been a good choice. Although
but he would have
hasn't
had one
been
scene.
at all-star level for like
Yeah.
4 years. So
Yeah, so it wouldn't have mattered anyways. But this sets up then the nature of this big game, again, it has a big game, as did the last one. I had questions about the rules because apparently anything goes except you have to have 5 players. But now we know why the rules don't matter because this is a video game, right? So everything's exaggerated, so we can just say, fuck it.
Right.
Anything goes.
Algae Rhythm is controlling everything. So he literally at one point reverses the basket they make, which is why can't he just do that every time then?
Right.
Why wouldn't he just kill them all immediately?
Yeah.
And LeBron learns the lesson to lighten up as the game goes on, right? He needs to not take it as seriously. He needs to have fun.
He's trying to make the tunes do it his way, right?
Yes.
He's being controlling.
Do it their way.
It goes back to the first scene when his coach is telling him, knock off the video games. You got to work on your fundamentals because you gotta make a living out of this if you want to get out of out of poverty. So he came to basketball as although he loved the game, I'm sure, but he had to do well, and so he just needs to learn to lighten up and have fun a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, there's 4 scenes in this movie that are well-written scenes that connect one to another, and then there's just references stuffed in between those 4 scenes, right? Like you have the opening, then you have, it mirrors him and his kids' problem, what we saw in the opening. It mirrors the Looney Tunes. Resolved to that problem. Beautiful story, family.
But the Thundercats.
Crazy. yeah, but in the background.
Oh, wow.
Where's
the son
Jaws?
Eventually joins his team. It's the whole I'm not playing against you. He stops playing in the middle of the game, and gives him a big speech. Yeah, which that's the good family stuff that this is doing better than Michael Jordan by himself.
The scenes with Don Cheadle where he's grooming this kid is actually kind of well written scenes where he's just
interesting.
He's turning this kid against his dad, but
it has shades of the never ending story to me. It's the kid in the book, he'll get his wishes, but he has to lose a memory, and he eventually becomes this huge asshole because he's getting everything he wants and he loses sight of the people who actually care about him. So Don Cheadle is serving that function. I was like, literature, drama, but only for a couple scenes, that's it.
But I really didn't expect to like Don Cheadle as much in this movie as I did, but I thought he did great, and he's a better villain to me than even the villains of the first one, Danny DeVito or whatever, because he's so he just has so much presence in this movie.
Don Cheadle walked in that green screen room and just chewed it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're so lucky to be able to call on an actor who's got years of experience in the Marvel machine to act that stuff out. And I will say a genuine moment of surprise when he becomes the boss monster at the end. It makes sense on a video game level, but to me as a viewer, I was like, that's something I didn't see coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the anything goes nature of the game, again, it makes more sense being a video game than the 90s one where anything kind of went too. But again, there's the video game rules where it's you got to do style points, and LeBron's
posterize them.
It's not basketball.
Posterize.
I don't have fun. That's not Dad no have fun.
Dad, what did you do?
That he does that
up, down, left, A, B. Oh shit!
Yeah, they saved the game by doing a speed run out of bounds glitch.
Yeah, Mike. They're trying to break records.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the idea that there's a specific move that you do in this game that will glitch the game and delete your character just seems like something that some executives made up that don't know anything about video games, but whatever,
Oh yeah, because the thing is, someone's going to get deleted if they do the move, and LeBron says he will, but then Bugs does it. Right, that's the big character.
He said earlier, you can't kill Looney Tunes. Anything can happen to them, and they'll survive. So he gets deleted, but he still survives.
They pull a Chewbacca on us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Comes back one scene later. So this is Space Jam. The family gets back together. This is the new legacy.
There
right?
it is.
Here it is. I mean, here's the thing. I think what we could do is wrap up the talk about the big game and then just go to final thoughts after that, because we'll encompass it. But we were watching this movie at home, thank God. And you're watching a basketball movie and you're just waiting for the big game. Any sports movie, you're waiting for the big match, the big game, whatever. We're watching this movie, trying to get through it, all the references. Basically, the moment the big game started, we fell asleep. It's so I don't know.
It takes a minute.
Yeah, it takes a while. And it was long. The game itself is an hour long. and it's like at this point, the original movie's almost wrapped up. So
yeah, it's
all
longer.
the things we're saying that it's longer, but
I do want to mention what I thought was the best joke in this movie, and that actually made me laugh. And you guys probably know what I'm talking about, but at a certain point, they're in the locker room, and I think it's Daffy is like, "Guess what, guys? I got fucking Michael Jordan. He's here in the stands. He's gonna come join the team."
That's my
They start
least
playing his
favorite joke.
intro music. It's the classic Bulls intro music from the 90s. And who comes in? It's Michael B. Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was
Killmonger.
like such a good bit. Like I
Very
actually laughed
clever.
at this. They're like, you can get Michael A. Jordan, you got Michael B. Jordan. Like, it's really funny, and it's it's sitting right there with his name being Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
So it makes too much sense, and I thought it was really funny.
My favorite joke was when Don Cheadle's trying to manipulate the kid, and he's like, Dom's like, yeah, my dad just left. He's like, yeah, that's kind of his MO. He left Cleveland, he left Miami. Watch out, LA. I thought that was the best joke.
Totally, yeah. I like when they reference like his real life career, and then even Michael B. Jordan when he's leaving. Oh, you got this. You were down 3. You came back from 3-1. You got this.
At least I got the 3-1 meme in there, yeah.
So yeah, Michael B. Jordan is the Bill Murray of this movie, right?
Sort of.
My favorite
he
joke,
was friends
if
with the
I could
producer,
just,
I'm sure.
I'm sure. If I can highlight the tunes of them all, because there's not
Yeah,
really
yeah.
moments where we're cutting over the tunes. Yeah.
I also want to say on the Michael B. Jordan thing, he also throws in a Friday Night Lights reference, and I fucking lost
He
it
gets
when that
really
happened.
into it.
Clear Eyes,
Because
Full Hearts.
Michael
Clear Eyes,
B.
Full
Jordan
Hearts!
is Earliest
Throws
Oh,
role,
sorry,
popcorn.
sorry, guys.
Friday Night Lights.
My mind.
So, yeah, Clear Eyes, Full Hearts. Can't lose.
But the tunes
The Toonie Boys in this one, we're never really cutting too much over to them. We said last time, it's a pretty good Looney Tunes movie, the first one. This, I mean, even setting up specific roles where it's like, like I said, Daffy's the coach or whatever. We're never really like getting shots over at him like fighting with Algae Rhythm or, like calling complex plays or anything. Granny's not a lot of fun. One point though, Sylvester is wrapped up in the spider's web from the Spider Woman, and he basically says, "Let me die," and it really made me laugh. Let me die.
I did not like the voice acting for Bugs Bunny. So in the 90s, it's Billy West, right? This
It's
one's a
Jacob.
different
It's
guy.
Billy West. This one, can I say, it sounds so much like he's doing a Peter Griffin. Wow, Lola, it's like that time we were playing Space Jam. And it's like, who the fuck is this guy?
Well, like I looked it up. I think that guy was like the first guy to do it after Mel Blanc died or whatever. But it's like, maybe he was better 30 years ago, but he did not sound good in this. And they just got Billy West to do it again.
Well, the Billy West of it all, I'll say real quick, he has made such a career in the early 2000s. He was pretty much Howard Stern's sidekick. And, he was also the man of 1,000 voices like Mel Blanc. And he would kind of do like, here's like Porky Pig talking about like eating you out and stuff. So I'm sure they like didn't want to invite any of that into the conversation.
All right, well, I'm sorry that you've summoned the beast himself, but you did say Porky Pig, so we have to talk about the rap battle scene.
Notorious P.I.G.
How dare you, Mike?
Why?
Notorious P.I.G.?
Joe, please tear it apart.
That was probably maybe the worst part.
Yeah.
What's that?
Why not throw a 8 Mile reference in your movie?
They own 8 Mile.
2021? It's fine.
They do. You're right. They do. It was showing
don't
up on
know.
HBO.
They own
It was.
everything.
It's there. Oh my God.
I also want to mention that Damian Lillard, Kronos, at one point he gets a special Dame time thing where the time slows down and this rap song starts playing. So if you don't know, Damian Lillard also raps, and that's actually his song playing. And
so he got extra money for the soundtrack rights.
Is he rep by Warner Media?
Is he Warner Music Group?
Might be. But it's kind of funny. Like I play a lot of NBA 2K, right? And in NBA 2K21, you could play. So Damian Lillard could play as himself in this video game, and it also has 2 of his songs in the soundtrack. So he could play a video game as himself while also listening to his music in that video game.
That's like Loki wanting to smooch Loki. It's
Right.
a little much.
Yeah. But he's a decent rapper, though. But
not as good as Jack.
Yeah.
I don't think the tunes are as well utilized, but I think the video game element allows for things like 1,000 Wile E. Coyotes flying through with basketballs to score 1,000 points being legal, like, okay, it's fine. But I don't like the 3D look of the tunes. I wish they would have been 2D. That really bothered me.
No. Okay, so in the inverses of this movie, when LeBron was animated, I was unhappy. When the tunes were live action, I was unhappy.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't like LeBron being animated because in the Michael Jordan one, he's not. Yeah, he's just.
No, he's Michael Jordan.
I feel like LeBron didn't want to do that much on set, so they were just like, oh, don't worry, we'll animate you for these parts. You don't have to come in and do some green screen acting for this part, just later. So
it's like literally what the villain of the movie is trying to make happen.
That's what I'm saying. It's self-aware. This movie knows it's bad, but I don't know. I don't think that makes it.
Knowing that you're bad doesn't make you good.
They don't care. They just want your money.
All right. Well, I guess they got it with HBO Max. So should we move on to final thoughts? Algae Rhythm did it. He got our money. We'll catch you on the flip
Let's
side
get outta here.
after the fourth quarter. Peace.
Yo, King, you're about to lose your family.
Got the world in my hand.
Everything you love.
Well, at least we're good.
Oh, and I almost forgot. All of the tunes will be deleted, so...
Come on, guys. The Toon Squad doesn't give up.
If we're going out loony.
Up the jam.
You gotta win this game and get our son back.
Up the jam.
Let's go, Toons.
I got hops.
Each on.
Coming off the bench, Wile E. Coyote. The machine's producing multiple Wile E. Coyotes.
Well, that happened.
Is Tweety Bird even in this movie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is Tweety Bird lame now? I feel like she was like one of the coolest ones, and like she's like barely in this movie.
Well, I thought it was weird because actually the first starting lineup that the Toon Squad comes out as is like Tweety Bird's in the starting lineup. So it's like Bugs, Lola, LeBron,
It's the All-Star.
Sylvester, and then Tweety, who's like flying next to him. I'm like, that's a weird choice, but yeah.
Tweety did like Kung Fu in the first one, did like a whole karate bit.
I mean, she was like, like attitude. I feel
I'm
like
small,
she
but
was
don't
like
mess with
Minion
me.
memes before Minions.
Yes,
Tweety a
Pop
boy or a
Tweety
girl?
was the biggest thing in the 90s. I cannot explain that enough.
They should have made that.
and I feel like she was barely in this one.
All of
Tweety
the tunes are
boy or
barely in it.
Because I always thought Tweety was a boy.
Yes.
I think it's a girl.
Oh, that's an impossible question.
I just assumed there was a girl. I don't know.
Here's a merchandise spotlight for Looney Tunes. The only female characters they have to push on stuff, it used to be the girl cat from Pepe. They don't do any of that stuff for Pepe Le Pew anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll put eyelashes on Porky Pig, and there's like a female Porky Pig, and they put eyelashes on Tweety, even though Tweety is, yes, a male.
Huh.
It's very confusing.
I thought Tweety was a male. And then there's Granny, which is
I
like,
thought Tweety was a male.
And then Granny. Can you imagine? All the ladies want to buy Granny shit. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no.
A granny shirt that says, "Where's the beef?"
Oh man, can't an old lady check her Twitter?
right. But yeah, of course we do have Lola, who has a little bit different design in the internet.
Lost their
controversy,
fucking
right?
It's a
mind.
lot harder to jack off to her, and I don't appreciate that.
Yeah, like honestly, I could give two shits. I think she's fine in this movie. The internet exists. Everyone that's complaining, you'll be okay, right? I mean,
Again,
don't
I
like
was
this.
thrown by the voice acting because I was like, that's Zendaya. As soon as I heard her, I was like, that doesn't sound like Lola Bunny. I mean, it's fine. It's just weird that like how much
Pass me the rock.
pay her
Oh,
to do that.
close enough, I guess.
But just to have all the Looney Tunes and then like the one like obviously I'm voiced by a celebrity. It just like doesn't make
It's
sense.
the only stunt casting out of them. Yeah,
It'd be like
When it
it'd be like
comes-
Mickey Mouse is talking and then like Sean Penn as Goofy all of a sudden. Like it doesn't make sense.
That's what we're gonna do, Mickey.
Yeah.
right.
The yuck.
I'm just upset that they didn't get a cartoon Charlize Theron to join them from Fury Road. That would have been my pick. Let's go.
How dare you, Mike? Well, okay, so we're talking our final thoughts here. I'm not saying necessarily if you want to say real quick, who would you assemble for your Space Jam crew out of these Warner Brothers people? But my question is,
properties.
Well, who would you want to stand next to? Because if I'm out in that crowd, and the entire time, because the movie just invites you to double the length of watching it by pausing every scene and going, okay, so like, there's Wacko, Yakko, and Dot, but they're like on top of the rim. Like, are we ever gonna get like a cut? Are they gonna say something? No, they're not gonna say that. Oh, but there's the Flintstones. Are we gonna get like a yabba dabba doo to wrap this up? Is it gonna be like a Roger Rabbit style, where by the time we get to the Toontown at the end, everybody's coming in with their big lines and zingers? No, it's not going to be like that one bit, guys.
So what you're
Yabba
posing...
dabba, don't say a word.
Nice. So what you're saying, Colin, is in a theoretical world, you could be courtside to the server jam. Who owns the seats next to you? Oh, in the Warner Brothers.
Yeah, what row are you in, Mike?
Who are you sitting next to?
Grabbing popcorn from? Here's what I'm doing. I'm going to the Scooby Gang. I'm hanging out with them the entire time. I think I'm not going to get into any trouble. I'm having a good time with Scoob and Shag the entire time. I'm chatting up Daffy and Velma.
That's a good call. That's a really good call.
The mystery mobile's got the door open.
Yes, you're chilling in there, Joe.
You're rolled up. When the game's over, you can get out of there real quick because you've already got the car ready to go.
Let's fucking bounce. I'm not going back to the real world.
I don't think there's a better answer than that. That's a good way to watch a game.
It's the Mystery Inc. crew 1,000%.
If I can't steal that, I'll just double down on Charlize Theron and Furiosa. We're getting popcorn.
You're up playing the guitar.
I'm playing the guitar on fire. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. For me, I'll tell you where I would be. I would be sitting in the announcer's booth with Ernie Johnson and Lil Rel commentating on the game.
Look, we said, Jacob, thank you for doing the shout out here. If Don Cheadle is the Holy Father in this thing, you just talked about the Son. Little Rel is the Jesus Christ of this thing, putting his all into this movie and trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, just giving that commentary. You love it. And Ernie Johnson, who's really on the... And this is a perfect missed opportunity that I wish they did. Ernie Johnson is on Inside the NBA with Shaq, Kenny the Jet Smith, and Charles Barkley.
Whole crew? How is it not the whole Inside NBA
not
crew?
Have a cameo in this movie? I was so mad.
He's got this weird nostalgic feeling about it. I don't know.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, a lot of missed opportunities. I'll jump into my final thoughts on the Space Jams. All right. First of all, fun fact: Frank Welker allegedly did the voice of Michael Jordan's dog in Space Jam 1. Okay.
I did see that.
Great. And Michael Jordan wasn't the only one facing off in a pop culture crossover, because Barkley did play one-on-one against Godzilla. Don't forget that.
That's the poster I had in my room, dude.
Yeah, and I need to see that movie soon.
Oh, yeah.
I also want to...
Oh, go ahead. And then
I also want to mention the after Space Jam 96 came out, they're going to make a sequel, right? Let's talk about really quick some of the potential sequels they would have made. Skate Jam starring Tony Hawk.
I like it. Probably would have been the best one.
Yeah,
probably.
I think, and Tony Hawk was huge in the early 2000s too. So, but then you have Race Jam with Jeff Gordon.
No, bad name.
And Spy Jam with Jackie Chan.
And just to real quick jump in, the jam is the thing that is the transitive property for all of these.
All together.
Yeah.
It's
the Race Jam.
All right.
Better than Race Wars, I guess, which is what
both bad.
Race. What you gonna do?
Hey.
And then there was they were gonna make a sequel, a Space Jam 2 with Tiger Woods at one point. And then eventually said, you know what? Instead, we're going to make.
But he does a bunch of uppers.
Yes. Yeah. And so, Jacob, Joe, I want your opinion on this because I feel like you're my Brendan Fraser buddy, but there seems to be this reclamation project for Back in Action. That's not a good movie. None of these are good movies.
I was too old for Looney Tunes Back in Action. I've never seen that one.
Well, and Looney Tunes Back in Action basically killed the Looney Tunes popularity, I feel like, because they were never as big as they were in the 90s after that movie came out.
Ever again.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Y2K killed Looney Tunes. Like, I feel like they were dead. I feel like Space Jam brought them back with like, hey, you guys remember Looney Tunes? All right. Anyway, they're gone again.
Yeah.
You can break them out if you ever need it. You're gonna get like a random like Tasmanian Devil watch for Christmas one year from like an
Absolutely,
aunt
you are
in that game.
Right.
Yeah, that's I think probably the biggest failure of it's not even a failure. It's just a property of it is that the Looney Tunes aren't popular, and so you can't build a movie around them for like kids these days, quote unquote. Right.
That's
so
why they had to
on those
incorporate
properties.
these different properties. Yeah.
That's exactly right. But what kids are leaning into Game of Thrones? You know what I mean? That's not. I mean, the Harry Potter world.
Kids love it. All right, they love Game of Thrones and they love Casablanca and they love Jabberjaw,
Wizard of Oz, Jabberjaw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
These are
right.
their favorite characters.
Yeah. So I guess I'll go into my final thoughts. Space Jam '96, as I said, it's a fever dream, but it's brief and it's fun enough if you're nostalgic for it. The Space Jam, A New Legacy, I don't think it should lead to a new legacy. It has a stronger story hook, but overall, it's less entertaining, and I literally fell asleep before the big game. So, there's no Bill Murray, so Space Jam '96 wins. That's pretty much where I'm at.
All right, I'm gonna follow up, and I'm only going to talk about the new one. The old one, it is what it is. It was a fun movie when I was a kid. I don't feel all that much about it. The new one. You guys remember when the Geico Cavemen almost had a TV show and they scrapped it because the pilot was terrible? That's what this movie is. I propose instead of making a calling card for HBO that is a piece of content, not a movie. It's still valid, but it's content. It's not filmmaking. Instead, just treat it like NBA 2K and every year put out a new one. Just, it's Space Jam, 2K22, and it's the same exact movie as the 1996 movie. They just pull out Michael Jordan and put in a new star, whoever's hot that year.
Like the Madden cover, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Just do it like that if that's what this means to you.
Interesting.
It'd probably do pretty well, honestly.
I'm sure it would. If this did well.
Well, here's my take on it. Okay, so the 90s movie, obviously both these movies are bad. They're not good movies. The 90s movie was a bad movie that I think if I was an adult in the 90s, I wouldn't have liked it at all, obviously. But looking through the nostalgia lenses, I can't say anything bad about this movie because I still love it, even if it's bad. So that's all I can really say about that. The new one, not a good movie. Really, really, really bad. But what I respect about it is that LeBron was like, okay, if I'm gonna be in this movie, it's got to have like a good family theme, and like it just fits LeBron's public persona, and I like that aspect of it. And if there's anyone that this movie was made for, it's me, being a huge LeBron fan, and this is just if they're gonna make this movie, I'm glad that they did it with LeBron, because I wouldn't have liked it as much if it was like Kevin Durant. It wouldn't have worked. But LeBron is a bigger than life persona like Michael Jordan was in the 90s. He's the only basketball star you could really say that about right now. But it's a bad movie. It's shameless corporate, commercialization saying, look at all our properties. Remember this? But I still enjoyed watching it, even though it's basically like garbage. It's just very polished garbage, but I did enjoy it at points. Yeah.
All right, Colin, where you at?
Well, look, this movie sucks. I'm with Jacob. There's some fun stuff in it. The family, the video game aspect of it, I was against hearing about. Watching, I'm like, oh, you know what? They pulled that off pretty cool. Here's what I want to talk about. Back in the day, when we were kids, you throw on that first Space Jam movie. The shield comes up. Bugs Bunny in a tuxedo leans up against the Warner Brothers shield. He eats a carrot. That's for Warner Brothers Family Group. Okay, that is the production studio that made their family-oriented movies. Okay, the people who made Space Jam 2 are what you call WAG, W-A-G. It's the Warner Animation Group.
Okay.
Very important distinctions here, because I want to talk about the other stuff that they made. When he says, yo, your dad's got a big cool meeting at Warner Brothers. You know, do you want to come with? And they pull up to the lot. You see other Warner Animated Group movies. Teen Titans Go to the movies. Lego Movie. You know, all the cool animated stuff they put out throughout the years. The other things that they do, and that they did last year, is the Tom and Jerry movie. Now, Space Jam and Tom and Jerry are occupying this thing for Warner's, where it's this ballooning budget, where I just think it must be some sort of corporate shell game, you know, hiding the account of, well, it's a live action hybrid, so we're allowed to spend as much money as we can. Well, it's animation, that's why it's so expensive. Funnel more money to it, funnel more money into it. Where, I'm not kidding, the tax frauds or investigations, because these movies, they're garbage. They're absolutely fucking filthy fucking garbage. The animated movies they put together, you know, Joe, we think that Lego Batman's the best Batman movie. Like, it's like, yeah, there's no question. It's like, I like what Warner Brothers Animation Group does. Whatever's happening over there, rethink this live action hybrid. It's not working. It's not going to work. You're not going to be Roger Rabbit, Jacob. It's never going to fucking happen.
I don't know if I totally agree with you, because from a financial perspective, this movie was successful. I mean, it dethroned Black Widow's
ass.
I would be very mad if I paid money to see this in a theater, but because I was able to basically see it for free having HBO Max, I'm not as mad because I just threw it on and just, you know.
It's the Wonder Woman effect. I'm telling you, if you don't pay for it like up front and leave your house, you'll watch anything.
100%. And I do want to say, like, when I first saw the trailers for this, I was like, oh, this looks like a piece of shit. And it is in one sense, but it's also better than I expected from seeing those original trailers. So I have to give it credit that it's like better. Like, once I saw that it was going to be like involving AI and like rather than like space aliens, I was like, what? That's not Space Jam. But you know what?
I swear they don't say it once in the movie. I swear. Like, please let us know.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
listeners.
why is it even called Space Jam? I guess they are flying through the server space at one point, but
as the other movie's called Space Jam.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. It's garbage.
Yeah. One other fact I wanted to throw out that I didn't mention earlier, the assistant character, or his LeBron's like assistant or producer or whatever.
Manager.
Manager. Yeah, that's based on also a real life person, Maverick Carter, who's LeBron James's longtime friend who grew up with him in Akron and became his like business partner. So I thought that's kind of a fun tidbit, even though he's not really that important of a character.
Or as entertaining as Wayne Knight, but that is an interesting tidbit.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about looking in the golf hole. I did like the joke where he goes, Siri, absorb me into the phone.
Yeah.
Right. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's certain aspects of this movie that surprised me with how much I like them, but overall, yeah, it's a piece of trash.
I mean, Colin, I see the poster in your room here. You know, Gremlins make an appearance at this basketball game too, and I was not happy about it.
Mike, okay, just because you just said it, when LeBron takes the meeting at Warner Brothers, there are bronze statues of what you assume are the most quote unquote important properties at Warner Brothers, right? We get a Bug's head setting it up. We get a Gremlin head, not Gizmo. We get not maybe Stripe, you know, but what is recognizable to the brand, quote unquote, Gremlins. Yeah. Then you get Dot Warner's head from the Warner Brothers. I'm looking at all three of those and going like, who is making these choices in these scenes? What is the thought for the people in charge here? I can't connect.
It's the algorithm, man. They just pulled random characters.
Yes. It says we would get 5 more looks on Twitter if we put these things in. You're right, Joe.
The Easter egg thumbnail game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess at least I'm glad my sports movie says it's okay if you're a fucking video game nerd.
Essentially, that's the message of the movie, is that
esports
Ron wants his son to become a jock, and his son says, no, Dad, you just don't understand. I like video games. And then by the end, he gets to go to video game camp.
My sports movie validates gaming. Okay, I guess that's good.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to never watching it and never thinking about it again.
I don't ever want to talk about it again. It's making me really angry.
I'm going to watch this movie be so many more times in my life. I'm gonna bet.
Yeah.
So.
Space Jam New Legacy 2K 2022.
Last question then. It's kicking Black Widow's ass. Are they going to do Space Jam 3?
Right.
And how ugly is it going to get?
I doubt are Dum Dums gonna go see it? Because then the answer is yes. Like,
but let me ask you
keep
guys:
doing it.
does it ditch the Looney Tunes? Is it
You
in the
have
next
to.
one? Is it like, look, Daenerys says Amelia Clark says she'll play Daenerys in this. We've got the Iron Giant. Like they really do the whole thing.
No, I don't think that this movie will get a direct sequel in that like LeBron will be in it. I think if there is another Space Jam, it'll be like in another 20 years starring the LeBron James of that era or the Michael Jordan of that era. But I don't.
It's like
I don't think
Haley's
they'll make
Comet. You just get one Space Jam a generation.
They'll talk about how important
No,
the
it's
LeBron
fucking
movie was
it.
when they were growing up.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fucking it. It comes every 27 years.
Feeds on your
Just
sadness.
Another fucking Warner property.
Pennywise
became-
dances in the background.
He became what we feared, a heartless reboot of something we were nostalgic for. And he just manifested this.
I'm not
Nailed
happy,
it.
guys.
I like Joe's
like
fan
this.
theories about this movie a lot more than the real thing.
Oh yeah, and I also wanted to mention another fact that I didn't mention earlier. LeBron basically decided he wanted to be in this movie because of he was in a movie called Trainwreck with Amy Schumer and Bill Hader, directed by Judd Apatow. You might remember it. And he played like the side character of himself, basically, but as Bill Hader was like a sports medicine doctor person who would like treat him, and LeBron was like his friend, and he got kind of rave reviews from that small part of basically just playing himself that he did pretty well comedic acting. So based on that, he's like, you know what? I think I could be a movie star. And then he's in this. I don't think he's great in this. He might be a little bit better than Michael Jordan as an actor.
It's a low bar, but yeah.
Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, that's another little fact I wanted to mention.
All right. He also produced this, so he's laughing all the way to the bank, looking at Black Widow, waving. He's got a big Looney Tunes sack of money hanging over his shoulder.
Yeah, you don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Dad, boy, cringe.
He's
E3.
dabbing on his E3. Let's get out of here.
Let me say that's all, folks. Normies, we are done doing the jam, doing the slam. Come on, y'all, talking Space Jam. But if you'd like to hear us talk about other stuff, of course, like, follow, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Check out our YouTube page where you can watch the videos of these. We're loving those too. Hit us up at normies_like_us. Shoot us some messages. Say, shut up, dudes. I want you to only talk about, other sports movies. You guys got to do a minor leagues episode. Let us know. We'll talk about that. Come on, that's another John G. Alvison movie. Mike's going to make us do that movie eventually. Come on, baby.
Yeah. I did get Karate Kid vibes when he heard the sweep the leg and was like, maybe Don Cheadle's not having my best interest in mind. So I was going to bring that up. Anyway.
But we've been your hosts. This is Monst Colin Star.
This is Michael B. Jordan.
Jabberjaw Joe.
And this is King Jacob. That's all, folks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.